Hey guys, it is the Mo. I'm going to take you through a quick tutorial on how to use Google Sheets. Super awesome tool helping you collect data, analyze data, display data, organize data. It's just really great for letting you do all of those science practices that we have. So I'm actually going to use the scenario from the virtual data collection bootcamp that we did. So if you scroll down to the part of the procedures, you can follow along with me. Try this on your own, making sure that you can do it. But the first thing we were asked to do is to predict the highest number that we could type in 10 seconds. Okay, so remember all the constraints were, we were typing our numbers in order, there were no spaces, there were no periods in between, it was just a continuous line of numbers. Okay, so I predicted that I was going to get 15. Now, I'm going to stop using the word predicted to the best of my ability, and I'm actually going to use the word expected. The reason we are doing that is because later in our biology careers, we'll learn that an expected value or a predicted value, it can actually be calculated sometimes. Sometimes it is just an estimated guess. But for the most part, we are going to use the word expected because it's going to help us in our later formulas. Okay, so I expected to get 15. I predicted I was going to get 15. Okay, once I actually did it, I got to 26. Now, this is going to be our observed data. It's the data that I actually saw happen when I went through it. Okay, so we are going to pull out our scratch paper and we're actually going to start the work of Google Sheets. So on Google Sheets, it's always going to prompt you to make a copy. I have a few suggestions. Okay, first off, I would take a Google Sheet document that is going to be your scrap work document because you're going to have to make graphs and tables a lot. So if you have one that's just like a continuous, like you'll know where it is, you're not going to have a million all over your drive. So just to keep yourself organized. And what you can actually do is down here at the bottom, you can add different sheets. And so like I'm just going to take this first sheet and I'm going to rename it and I'm going to call it Bootcamp. Okay, and it's obviously my first assignment. And so as I get farther in the year, I can just add other ones, rename those and work on those. Whether it be different labs or different activities that we do, you can just have a big continuous string of scrap work where you're going to hypersnap and pull those pictures and pull those tables into like a different document. Okay, so back to bootcamp. First thing we need to do is we need to create a table. So we've got our information. We always want to start with a table. So the table that we're going to look at is a bunch of categories, and those categories are actually the student. Okay, so the student name here, and obviously I'm going to be the first one, and I collected data on myself as Mo. Okay, now some of you probably went straight to your observed data and just were like number typed and you did that. But if we have a predicted value, I would want us to include that predicted value. Okay, so we're going to put predicted here. And not only are we going to put predicted, but because we want to use the correct terminology, I'm actually just going to add in that this is our expected. Okay, this is the number of types we were expecting to get. And again, later we can maybe calculate this somehow, but for now we're just going to do with our educated guess. Okay, the next thing was what we actually got. Okay, so this is to keep it nice and clean. We're going to call it number typed, and we're going to be really specific, and we're going to say in 10 seconds. All right, so now we've got that, and it's nice and organized, and I typed 26. Okay, now if I want to get crazy, okay, and run different data, I can say this was trial 1, and then I can do a trial 2 and a trial 3, and we can analyze trends that way. We can talk about, am I increasing my speed? Like, am I typing to a higher number? Did I fall off? Am I staying consistent? So we can analyze it that way. So anytime we can, we want to run more trials because the more data we have to look at, the more reliable our data is. Okay, we want to increase our sample size. But instead of doing that, what we did is we compared students. Okay, so we're going to run a bunch of different students through this exact same simulation. So we had our good friend Dragon Lady, Miss Dragichu. She would run this experiment. Now she overshot. She thought that she was going to get 30, but what she actually was able to get was only 22. Okay, so now we have a scenario in which we have two students that we need to compare. All right, so now for a second I want to talk about how we know that we've got a table of information, how to visualize that. So now we've got to create some sort of chart or graph to give you a little cheat code. If the information is categorical, so for instance, I am my own category as Mo, and Dragon Lady is her own category, and she had a predicted in a time and a number typed. Because we are different categories, we're actually going to organize this as bar graphs. Okay. If the data is something that is over time or it's something cumulative, typically you can plot that on an actual line graph. Okay, but we have categorical data here. We're going to use a bar graph. Now, something really cool about Google Sheets, if you set up your table correctly, when you insert a visual, okay, it will actually pre-populate typically with the one that is correct. So for this one, let's see if it gives us the right thing. We're going to insert a chart. Okay, wait a second. It's going to take in that information after you've highlighted, and check that out. It did pick a bar graph for us because it recognized that this was categorical data. Okay, so some things that make a graph or a table better, okay, and that you have to be able to do to get all of your points, because I know that's what we're worried about, are one, do you have a legend of some sort? So boom, that's on our checklist. We did that. Second, do we have a title that includes the dependent and independent variable? Well, we don't right here. We just have the dependent variables. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to click here. Okay, it'll pop up on this sidebar, and then we can actually change the title. So instead of calling it the predicted and the number, we're going to go number typed in 10 seconds by students. Okay, the reason we are going to do that is because now we can clearly see let's center it so it looks prettier. Okay, now we can clearly see the number typed in 10 seconds. That is our dependent variable. Okay, and then we have the students as our independent variable on the x-axis. Okay, so we always want to put our independent variable on the x and our dependent variable on the y. Okay, so we do have an axes title here, but we're actually missing one over here on this side. So we want to clean that up a little bit because we always need to have a labeled axes. So we're going to go to vertical axes title. Okay, and here we don't have any text on this right drop down. So what we can do is we can insert now a title. Okay, so that is our number type. So we'll say number typed. Okay, and then it'll just pre-populate itself there. Okay, our legend is awesome. We have a predicted or expected value compared to our actual value, our observed value, and we can see those clearly represented here. All right, so you can play around and make this look better, but this would be like a minimum requirement to get all the points on a graph that we like. Okay, so I hope that that helped a little bit. If you look down here on this side thing, there's all kinds of things that you can do to manipulate and change and fix so that they're the correct way, and make sure that you're getting what you want to on these. Like you can even make your grid lines, even like subgrid lines. Other than that, I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can play with down this side. And if by chance your graph didn't pre-populate with the correct representation that you want, you can get creative by mixing it up. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. There's these 3 little dots on the side here, and what you want to do is you want to edit the chart, okay, and make sure you have this drop down, and you're going to actually go to setup. Okay, so once we've got this sidebar here, the setup will actually let you change the different charts. Again, it'll suggest one, but you can get different ways to kind of, display, whether it be you can do stacked columns, you can do line graphs and areas. So you can get creative with how this actually is shown. But I really hope that helped, that tutorial was useful. And if you have any questions, please make sure you contact me. You guys are great. Talk to you later.